shifted to implementation of the far more complex second phase of President Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan, approved by the UN Security Council. More on this from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
With the remains of only one hostage still in Gaza, the first phase of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is nearly complete after 2 months of delays and accusations on both sides. A Hamas official says the Gaza ceasefire cannot move on to its second phase as long as Israeli violations continue, calling on mediators to pressure Israel to adhere to the agreement. The second phase would include the deployment of an international force and the disarmament of Hamas. It's meant to begin only after Hamas completes the return of all hostages and hostage bodies. The group still holds the body of one hostage, Ran Gvili, claiming it has been unable to locate him. Israel has carried out strikes across Gaza, which it says were in retaliation for attacks on troops manning the Yellow Line, where the IDF pulled back at the start of the truce. The focus shifts to the far more complex second phase of President Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan, approved by the UN Security Council. If it succeeds, it could end Hamas rule, rebuild and demilitarize Gaza under international supervision, normalize Israel-Arab ties, and create a possible path toward Palestinian statehood. But the pitfalls are significant. The plan calls for an international stabilization force to deploy in Gaza and train Palestinian police. Several countries have expressed interest, but none have committed, and Israel insists Turkey be excluded. U.S. officials say boots on the ground could come in early 2026, but key questions remain about command and powers remaining unresolved. The second element is Trump's Board of Peace, which he will personally head, overseeing a Palestinian technocratic committee to run Gaza. Members have not been announced, and Israel opposes any figures linked to Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, making selection highly problematic. On reconstruction, Gaza's damage is estimated by the UN at $70 billion. Donor states are expected to gather in Egypt, but funding and agreement on how to spend it remain uncertain. The most contentious issue is Hamas disarmament. The ceasefire requires the group to surrender all weapons. Hamas says it will not disarm, though it has floated freezing its arsenal for several years. Failure to disarm could trigger new clashes with Israel or with international forces. The plan also envisions Israeli withdrawals. Currently, Israel controls over half of Gaza. Further pullouts depend on security milestones, but no timetable exists. Israeli military chief Eyal Zamir has called the current Yellow Line a new border and a vital defensive belt. And finally, Trump's plan requires deep reforms in the Palestinian Authority to create a credible pathway to statehood. Israel rejects a Palestinian state and doubts the PA can reform itself. Without political horizons, Palestinian support for the plan may collapse. With Netanyahu expected at the White House this month, diplomats say the ceasefire is at a critical juncture, with the entire peace roadmap hinging on whether the second phase can actually begin.
Meanwhile, on Tuesday morning, Israelis gathered at Ben Gurion Airport to bid farewell to slain hostage Suti Sakrin Talak before his remains were returned to his home country, Thailand. ILTV's Devo Klein has more.
Israelis from the Foreign Ministry and Thai Embassy in Israel gathered at Ben Gurion Airport to hold a send-off ceremony for the casket of slain hostage Suti Sakrin Talak. Before the remains of the Thai national were returned to his family, Israel's hostage coordinator Gal Hirsch took the opportunity to apologize one final time.
Rintalak family, Sudisak, I'm so sorry. So sorry. It shouldn't end this way. In October 7th, 2023, the terrible invasion to Israel, the huge terror attack on us, we failed to protect you. It took a long time, too long, to bring you back home.
Also sharing words was the Thai ambassador to Israel, reaffirming the relations between Thailand and the Jewish state.
To secure also lasting peace and security and stability in the region, Thailand, alongside the international community, remains firmly committed to supporting the full implementation of the peace agreement and the ceasefire process between Israel and Hamas. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Royal Thai government, I wish to express our sincere gratitude for the government of Israel for its resolute efforts to recover the body of Mr. Suthisak and to bring home the other Thai hostages with dignity and order.
Suthisak was an agricultural student who moved to Israel to work at the exceptional farms of Kibbutz Be'eri when Hamas terrorists infiltrated the farm on October 7th. The terrorists shared video footage of the torture and eventual kidnapping of the Thai nationals who were working at the farm, including Suthisak, highlighting that the battle against Hamas terrorism is a global issue, not only an issue for Israel. With that, Israel's responsibility to bring Suthisak home never diminished, and after 788 painful days, his casket makes its way home for burial.
And joining us now with more on the latest developments in the region and beyond is the spokeswoman for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and our very own former ILTV News anchor, Shosh Bedrosian. So, Shosh, so wonderful to see you.
Lidar, thanks for having me.
So the Prime Minister is scheduled in a short time to visit the White House at the invitation of U.S. President Donald Trump. Can you share with us what is going to top the agenda on this visit?
Sure. So what I can share with your viewers, who I know are listening, is that the meeting will be taking place December 29th. That's a Monday. And they will be discussing the future steps, the phases, and the international stabilization force of the ceasefire plan, essentially the future of what this plan could look like. Now, let's remember where we started. We got to this point in time where we have a ceasefire in place. It's been in place, Lidar, for more than 60 days right now. And it all started with the stronghold of our idea of soldiers going into the Gaza City stronghold, a decision the Prime Minister made. And by doing that, we put immense pressure on Hamas. Not only that, but the diplomatic pressure that President Trump put on Hamas with the help from Arab countries and Muslim countries, we got to the point where Hamas had no choice. So together, we reached this point of a ceasefire. And they will be discussing, of course, like I said, the next phases. Now, we have one more hostage that is still in captivity right now. It is Ron Gvili. He is a hero of Israel. He fought near Kibbutz Alomim. He is our last hostage in captivity. Hamas has delayed giving his body back. It's been more than 61 days. They've been stalling to give his body back. Under this 20-point plan, Lidar, it is a commitment Hamas made. They would release all of our hostages within 72 hours. Here we are, 61 days later, and we still have a hostage in captivity. The Prime Minister has made it very, very clear we will get Ron Gvili's body back home. And moving on to phase two, we will ensure that Hamas is demilitarized and they have no arms. Gaza is demilitarized. Ensure that Hamas has no future inside of Gaza.
And now, speaking of phase two, I mean, how is the Prime Minister navigating the, let's call it the internationalization of this conflict? I mean, it's something that Israel has avoided for many, many years, but now with President Trump's close involvement and the expected military presence of other countries, how has this sort of changed the dynamics and the reality here on the ground?
Look, Lidar, we're at a critical point in the ceasefire because in phase two, there's a commitment right now that Hamas will demilitarize. For many, many years, as so many Israelis know, Jews know in the diaspora around the world, Hamas has used Gaza as a launching pad to conduct terror attacks against the Jewish state, the only Jewish state in the world, and Jews who live here and anyone who lives here, not just Jews. There have been so many victims of Hamas. So to ensure this, that Israel has a safe border when it comes to Gaza, this is a priority. And we're at this pivotal point where we can make this happen, right? So to demilitarize Gaza, to make sure that there is no future of Hamas inside of the Gaza Strip, and to ensure that Hamas isn't here to ruin their own people's future. That's what phase two will also include. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu has also made it very clear there will be a phase three, which will be to de-radicalize the Gaza Strip, to ensure that education, proper education, is coming back to the people of Gaza, who have been, unfortunately, had to live under this Hamas regime for far too long, and to ensure that they also have a better future as well. But in terms of your question, let's talk about, like I said, how we got here. It's the immense pressure that was put on Hamas when it comes to the Arab states, the Muslim countries, from President Trump's help, in addition to Prime Minister Netanyahu's decision to go into Gaza City. All of that got us to the point of this ceasefire. And it is holding. It is holding, and it certainly is holding. And we want to just make sure our last hostage run really comes back home for a proper burial.
And President Trump announced, the 20-point peace plan. He announced and also hinted towards a major peace deal that would sweep the region. But since that time, we haven't seen any new countries join the Abraham Accords. And as we've just been talking, there are still major obstacles to reaching phase 2 and, of course, phase 3 of the deal. So where do we stand today? I mean, are there ongoing diplomatic talks with Saudi Arabia, for example? I mean, what is the status of this, the Abraham Accords and this big peace deal?
Sure. Well, Lizar, as you know, all good things take time. And let's go back to just the history of the Abraham Accords. No one believed that Israel would actually get peace with 4 Arab states in the Abraham Accords. Prime Minister Netanyahu says right now there's a very strong interest to advance that peace, the peace in this region, and even potentially outside of this region. And it's peace through strength, right? It's making sure that the security of Israel is never relinquished. And that's a top priority for the Prime Minister, is to make sure that all borders of the state of Israel are protected, from the north, the south, and all of its remaining borders. Remember, we had an Iranian terror axis surrounding us from the north with Hezbollah, even the Houthis inside of Yemen, and also, of course, Hamas inside of the Gaza Strip. We have severely cut these terror axes off, the Iranian terror axis and these terror groups that are funded by Iran themselves. And the Prime Minister wants to expand peace. And that's what he hopes to achieve. The Prime Minister believes we can extend the Abraham Accords, not just with one country, with many countries, including Islamic countries outside of the region as well. And this is what he recently said.
Shosh Bedrosian, thank you so much for joining us. It's always so wonderful to see you.
Thanks so much, Lidar.
3 million Israelis are dealing with trauma since October 7th. To help Israelis heal, Hadassah is there, with the largest rehabilitation center in Jerusalem, world-renowned medical centers, and youth villages. It's said, saving a life saves the world. Imagine helping millions. This is Hadassah, a life-changing force in Israel and the world.
And the IDF and police say 6 suspected smugglers were captured following a chase on the Egyptian border. Soldiers monitoring surveillance cameras spotted the smuggling cell near the border. Following a pursuit involving troops of the 80th Division, the Israeli Air Force, Shin Bet, and police, the suspects were detained. The IDF says it also captured their vehicle and 21 kilograms of an unspecified drug. The suspects were taken by police for further interrogation. The IDF said it will continue coordinating with other security agencies to thwart smuggling attempts and maintain security along the border. The Paran Regional Brigade is responsible for securing the nearly 150-mile or 240-kilometer border with the Sinai. And in other diplomatic news, Israel and Bolivia have officially restored full diplomatic relations after a 16-year break, signing a joint communique at a ceremony in Washington. Foreign Minister Gideon Sar and his Bolivian counterpart Fernando Armayo announced a new framework for cooperation in agriculture, security, innovation, and tourism, with both countries to appoint ambassadors soon. Sal called the move the end of a long and unnecessary chapter, noting that ties had been severed since 2009, except for a brief restoration in 2020. He praised Bolivia's new president, Rodrigo Paz, and said Israel wants to support the country's economic reforms. The agreement also highlights Bolivia's historic support for Jewish refugees and for the 1947 UN vote establishing the State of Israel. With Bolivia lifting visa requirements for Israelis, Jerusalem expects tourism and people-to-people ties to grow. Sal said the renewed relationship marks a new chapter with Israel, Bolivia, and the United States cooperating closely moving forward. And in other news, ILTV is partnering with Regavim to help protect Israel's heartland. Over the next several weeks, you'll meet the field coordinators guarding Judea and Samaria, uncover the silent takeover of illegal construction and land grabs, and see what life is really like in the biblical heartland. To get informed and get empowered, scan the QR code on your screen or visit regavim.org and sign up for their newsletter. Learn how you can take part in safeguarding the land of Israel. And now Israel is bracing for severe weather as Storm Byron arrives after hitting Greece and Cyprus. Our correspondent India Naftali is with us in Ashdod, one of Israel's major coastal cities, expecting strong impacts from the storm. India?
Yes, Lidar, don't let this sunny weather fool you. I'm standing here in Ashdod, one of Israel's coastal cities, expected to take a direct hit from Storm Byron. Actually, an Israeli official said Israel is about to see rainfall, the likes of which we have not seen. Now, there is a well-known joke here in Israel that Israel's more prepared for missiles and rockets than for rain, and it does feel true in a lot of ways. I mean, Israel doesn't get a whole lot of rain most of the year until the winter, of course. Some rain began overnight, but really the brunt of the storm is expected to hit tonight and especially tomorrow. Total rainfall could reach about 200 millimeters, and dozens of millimeters may fall only within a few hours. Now, just to put that into perspective, Lidar, even a well-prepared city can only handle about 30 millimeters a day. Anything above that makes flooding likely.
Heavy rainfall events like this have become more common in the recent years, and flooding has even claimed lives. Flood and storm damage in Israel already totals billions of shekels each year. And just recently, the government approved a plan of 1.5 billion shekels, about $250 million, for flood preparedness. This budget covers 13 projects across Israel over the next 5 years to help prevent flooding. One of the main plans is to create urban sponges, which are areas designed to pull excess water away from the cities. There will also be new systems to absorb river overflow, which is one of the biggest causes of flooding in Israel. But experts warned that even with these measures, the funding is still not enough to fully protect the country.
What you see now is just the calm before the storm. The winds are expected to reach 90 kilometers per hour in some places, and residents across the country are warned to prepare for difficult weather conditions. Back to you, Lidar.
Thank you, India, for the report. We're all bracing for Storm Byron. And moving on, Kiryat Shmona, the heart of Israel's north, is still recovering from the war with Hezbollah. After the countless evacuations and rocket impacts in the city, many residents left. And what remains now are the final residents clinging on to the life they once knew, trying to make some money and put food on the table.
Israel has won the war in the north, or has it? While Hezbollah didn't destroy Israel north physically, they have wiped out Kiryat Shmona's economy. Take a look.
After 2 years of war and countless evacuations, Kiryat Shmona, the capital of Israel's north, now feels like a ghost town. Shops are closed, malls are empty, and without jobs in business, people struggle to put food on the table. Yad Ezra V'Shulamit, the largest distributor of food baskets in Israel, has already received thousands of new requests for food from families in the north, each struggling to make ends meet.
ההורים לא עובדים כי מפעלים שלהם לא נפתחו. אני מכירה פה אנשים באים, כל בן אדם שנכנס כמעט בוכה שאין לו פרנסה. עד 8 בערב אני מחכה שמישהו יבוא ולהתחיל לפרנס, אני לא יודעת איך אני יוצא מכל זה.
וכמה עוזרת המדינה בעניין הזה?
בינתיים לא עוזרת. בינתיים לא עוזרת בשום דבר. אני לבד מתמודדת עם כל הדברים.
Joining me now in studio is Jamie Geller with insights on how we can save the North. Jamie, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a bit about how we can save the situation in the North.
Okay, well, we all remember the sirens and the rockets and the evacuations of the communities in the North. But what we didn't see and what we don't know now is the absolute devastation that has hit the Kiryat Shmona economy.
Right. So what do you mean by that?
So these are working class people who have come back, even at risk of their own lives, to come to the north, to come back to Kiryat Shmona, and there is just no business. And now they're sitting there with no food. These are people that were never on the receiving end before and really don't know what they're going to put on the table for the next meal.
So what does this mean for the future?
Well, basically, the government and money has been sent to Kiryat Shmona and other similar communities to help rebuild schools and hospitals and critical infrastructure. But that's really a long-term view. And while critical, we have these people right now who do not have food to put on the table. So Yad Ezra Shulamit is literally on the ground now, providing food baskets for all those that have asked. Over 400 requests have been made from the city of Kiryat Shmona. That represents thousands of people. And it's literally a cry for help from the city itself. And we really need to be there to help them. It's a matter of survival.
So what can we, citizens of Israel, or maybe even people abroad, do to help these people?
Okay, so food baskets, that's the beginning. We need to make sure that they can get back on, rebuild themselves, reestablish themselves. And food is critical for that. So to really help Yad Ezra Shulamit in terms of reestablishing Kiryat Shmona and the 1,000 businesses that have closed since the war and a 49% increase in unemployment. So Yad Ezra Shulamit is running a matching campaign right now. Every single donation is doubled. So for everyone watching here in the ILTV community has been unbelievable in supporting the hungry of Israel right now. They've been unbelievable. We want them to support at least one family, and then we can feed everybody in the north, because we don't want these people to move. I mean, they don't want to move. They're strong, they're resilient, and basically Kiryat Shmona sits on the border of the Lebanese border, on the border of Lebanon. So this is critical city to the security of Israel. And these people have come back, even like I said, early at risk to their own lives. So they're standing there resilient, protecting Israel's border. We can't leave them hungry, and we can't leave them without food to eat.
We're talking about an entire city here that needs to recover psychologically, economically. How does the food basket program help in the larger picture?
Okay. Well, essentially, like I said, the big infrastructure is being taken care of by government and funds from abroad. But if people don't have what to eat, there will be no one left to go to these hospitals, schools, and to live in this fruitful city. So this is literally a matter of survival and putting food on the table. And food baskets are the first step in terms of rehabilitating people that were never on the receiving end before. These are working class people that want to get back to work. We just had to feed them in the interim.
Thank you, Jamie. I assure you that the ILTV community and viewers are supportive of your cause of saving the North. We can't let Kiryat Shmona disappear. It's right on the border with Lebanon and probably the most important city in the North in terms of national security. It's the end of the year and the perfect time to get those last tax deductions for 2025. Please take a moment to scan this QR code on the screen to feed a family in Kiryat Shmona and help save the capital of Israel's North. All donations are being doubled right now.
A very, very important and worthy cause. And now, a senior Hamas official says there will be no second phase in the Gaza truce while Israel continues ceasefire violations. The focus has shifted to implementation of the far more complex second phase of President Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan, approved by the UN Security Council. More on this from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
With the remains of only one hostage still in Gaza, the first phase of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is nearly complete after 2 months of delays and accusations on both sides. A Hamas official says the Gaza ceasefire cannot move on to its second phase as long as Israeli violations continue, calling on mediators to pressure Israel to adhere to the agreement. The second phase would include the deployment of an international force and the disarmament of Hamas. It's meant to begin only after Hamas completes the return of all hostages and hostage bodies. The group still holds the body of one hostage, Ran Gvili, claiming it has been unable to locate him. Israel has carried out strikes across Gaza, which it says were in retaliation for attacks on troops manning the Yellow Line, where the IDF pulled back at the start of the truce. The focus shifts to the far more complex second phase of President Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan, approved by the UN Security Council. If it succeeds, it could end Hamas rule, rebuild a demilitarized Gaza under international supervision, normalize Israel-Arab ties, and create a possible path toward Palestinian statehood. But the pitfalls are significant. The plan calls for an international stabilization force to deploy in Gaza and train train Palestinian police. Several countries have expressed interest, but none have committed, and Israel insists Turkey be excluded. U.S. officials say boots on the ground could come in early 2026, but key questions remain about command and powers remaining unresolved. The second element is Trump's Board of Peace, which he will personally head, overseeing a Palestinian technocratic committee to run Gaza. Members have not been announced, and Israel opposes any figures linked to Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, making